my bitches bad as hell. We on top like chandelier. We make a movie, curve full of baddies and bougies. Glocks, FNs, and Uzis. I might pop out like John Wayne. Come through, sweep that bitch like Nudie. He might lose me. I'm in here clutching the Uzi. Sliding big truck like Dooley. Ducking the groupies. I'm not the type to be choosy. I gotta ride with the tool. I thought you knew me. I don't gotta go to no job. Rapping and chopping my duties. Smoke be thicker than Fox. Woods be bigger than logs. Yeah, I'm not your average buddy. Yeah, it's a couple of bands on a buddy. She gon' give me some head and get lucky. We could be on the beat somewhere lovely. I be mixing no walk with the bubbly. That's why she put no one above me. All my bitches bad as hell. We on top like chandelier. We make a movie, crib full of baddies and bougies. Glocks, FNs, and Uzi. I might pop out like John Wayne. Come through, sweet some bit like Nudie. I might pop out like John Wayne. Come through, sweet that bit like Nudie. All my bitches bad as hell. We on top like chandelier. We make a movie, crib full of baddies and bougies. Glocks, FNs, and Uzi. I might pop out like John Wayne. Come through, sweet that bit like Nudie.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Concrete Keep It Real. This is season 2. I love to introduce y'all to my special guest, Betty Dulcio. The reason why I brought her on this platform is because, like I said, it's not enough highlighted on those in our community who are doing great things within our community. And Betty is one of those individuals that I would like to highlight today because her story is incredible. A young lady who would not be here if it wasn't for her ambitions, her grit, and her might to know what she wants in life. Betty, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Betty Dulcio. I own an insurance agency right here in Broward County in the city of Sunrise.
So Betty, were you raised in Miami?
No, I was raised actually in Fort Lauderdale, but I was born in Miami.
You were born in Miami. So I just want to bring the viewers to understand why I brought you on this platform. So we're going to go back to whom you were as a child to becoming this incredible woman that sits here before me amongst Michelle Obama. So when you were young, did you ever see yourself owning an insurance company?
Absolutely not.
Or
So I was raised on, my parent taught me to go to school, get an education, become a doctor, a lawyer. So all I knew was schooling, education.
and when you say your parents, what the background, where did they come from?
So they're of Haitian descent. They're from Haiti. And, you know, when they came here, all they could think about or all they preached was to go to school and get an education and create a career for yourself.
Did they know anything about entrepreneurship, working for thyself?
I don't think so. No.
So what did they do for a living, if you don't mind me asking?
So my mom was and still is an environmental service aide. We can scratch that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll start over. So my mom is an environmental service aide. She works at Westside Regional Medical Center. I don't know. Can we scratch that again? Okay. Yeah, okay, so let's start. So my mom is an environmental service aide, also known as a housekeeper. My dad, he was a custodian for the Broward School Board of Broward County.
Wow. So they was hard-working individuals.
My mom had 2 jobs most of my life.
Do you have siblings?
So I do by my dad, but I was raised with my mom, so I'm the only child.
The only child. So
Yeah.
how was that life to know that school was pushed onto you and really you had no one in the house to balance it? Like, you know, no playfulness, no other sibling to really talk to in the house.
Right.
How did you balance that?
So I used to hang out with my cousins a lot. They were what I known as family, sisters and brothers. But it was lonely growing up as an only child. You know, there's some perks, of course, but it was lonely.
How did that affect you in school?
It made me, I think it probably brought on to me being somewhat of an introvert.
So it had the complete opposite, because I know individuals who didn't have siblings at home. They were more extrovert in school because they wanted to engage
Right.
because they didn't have that engagement at home.
Right.
So it was the complete opposite for you.
Yeah, it was the complete opposite. I'm a little shy until, you know, I get to know you and then I open up. But for the most part, yeah.
Well,
Initially, I'm shy.
We're not going to be shy today. Not on this camera. Not on Concrete Keeping It Real.
Absolutely not.
And I thank you for blessing me with your presence on this platform. So how was it in school when you were attending school?
So when you say that,
I know that was kind of like broad. I meant,
right.
was school, because you were an introvert, did you get picked on? Did they say there go the quiet girl? How were your classmates, your peers? Because they could be kind of cruel with the one
Right.
that was.
So for the most part, I didn't get picked on. Girls didn't like me. Yeah. Oh, let's backtrack. So for the most part, I didn't really get picked on, but then again, I did when I went to my middle school, William Dandy. That's around the era where they were like Haitians eat cat. So
Mm,
yeah, I had a guy. He used to walk behind me and sing this, "Hey, rat a tat tat, thanks for the cat." That's what I would say at dinner time. That's what
Jesus,
he said.
Jesus, right?
Now thinking back retrospectively, I can ignore it, but at that time, I used to be
Affected.
infuriated.
How did that affect you? If you knew it wasn't true, but how did that affect you? For those that don't understand, to be attacked like that, because
Um,
I was attacked like that. I
right.
understand, but for the ones that don't understand, how did that make you feel?
It made me feel bad, because I remember there was this guy I liked, and he didn't want to engage with me or talk to me because he said I was Haitian.
Wow,
Yeah. So
wow,
I remember that kind of hurt my
because
feelings.
that was a crush,
Yeah,
someone
that
you
was
had a
a
crush
crush.
on, and for a young adolescent, a teenager to have a
Yeah,
crush on a boy that say, "I can't talk to you because you're a Haitian."
because you're Haitian.
Did at any point did you? I don't want to say it, but did you regret being a Haitian? Did at any point did that make you feel like you
Um,
did?
no. So I think I was saved because I'm a girl, but the guys, yeah, they were getting hit left and right. They
Mm,
would they would they would have a day called swing on a Haitian day.
mm,
And so they would literally walk up to a Haitian and just swing on no reason, absolutely no reason at
right,
all, and just swing. But I think I was saved because I'm a woman.
because you're a woman, so you think
Yeah.
you had a little less. The guys kind of had it
Oh
rough.
yeah, they had it really rough growing up.
Yeah, we heard the stories. We heard
Yeah.
several stories on this platform
Yeah.
about um, Haitian Friday,
Right.
where they beat up, like you say, swing on a day,
Swing on a Haitian.
swing on the Haitian.
Yeah,
My God,
especially if he was what they would call like an Esau, like they knew he couldn't talk. If he
English.
looked like it, like looked like a Haitian, oh, he was getting swang on. Period.
So what grade period are we talking about?
Probably like sixth, seventh grade.
So this is like elementary, middle school.
Yeah. More so middle school. Elementary, it wasn't that bad. It was getting there, but middle school is where it really took off.
So
They had like Haitians against Americans.
so how were your grades back then?
I
Were
always
you?
had pretty good grades. I think I'm smart. Well, actually, I know I'm smart, but always had pretty good grades. I was even in the magnet program in high school.
Wow.
So, yeah, schooling was never too challenging
So
for
you always
me.
had a promising future.
Yeah, it's just what I chose to do with my future.
So when did you decide as a young adult, a young teenager, that you knew where you wanted to go, or were you still?
Oh yeah. For a long time I was lost.
And
Trying to
what you
figure
mean? What you mean lost? Talk to us, because there's a lot of kids. One being my daughter. There's a lot of kids out here who are lost, and you're a woman that they're looking at right now. What do you mean that you were lost?
I just didn't know where to go. You understand? So at one point I wanted to be a doctor, then I wanted to be like a dental hygienist. So it just kind of kept on switching, a nurse. I didn't know what path I wanted to follow. I just know ultimately I wanted to get money.
So this is in high school we're talking about?
Yeah, in high school and after high school.
Did at any time was it hard for your mother, because you said you was raised by your mother? Was it hard being as you,
Absolutely. Yeah. I caused her a lot of pain and grief, sleepless nights.
how you caused her pain and grief and sleepless nights? Talk to me.
There were times I was being a kid, so I wouldn't sleep home or I was out late. She would actually come looking for me, knock on people's doors.
So there was nights that you did not sleep home
No. And
in high school.
I was about 17, 18, yeah.
So you were finding yourself,
Yeah.
but that's hard for a parent to go in their bedroom, their daughter bedroom, not see their daughter. Because I can only imagine to
Right.
go to the bedroom, not see my daughters. So
So I used to come home when she's not there, take a shower, and then clear it.
What was going on then? What was happening
was-
back then? When you look at your old self, Betty, what was going on at that time?
I think I was just trying to figure it out, or more so probably go with the flow. Like what it was at that time, it was to hang out with your friends, and that's what I did all day, every day. We would sit at the house. We were really not doing anything, nothing educational, nothing that would bring us to another level. We was just sitting at the house and talking.
That's it.
That's it.
So how did the girl that did not talk to people end up amongst girls that was in the house doing nothing?
So I had a friend and she was friendly. So she brought in a whole bunch of other girls, and that's how I was able to engage and make other friends. Yeah, she was extra friendly.
Are you still friends with her to this day?
No.
What was the fallout?
That's a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother story?
Yeah.
So is it safe to say that these friends that you were heading towards the wrong path with are no longer in your life right now?
No.
Or some of them are?
No.
Because others do make changes also.
Right. So the ones at that particular time of my life, no, they're no longer, none of them actually.
And we're talking about back in high school.
We're talking about back in high school, yes.
Because, you know, and the reason why I asked that, kids got this thing when they're in high school, they hold on to friends, thinking that this is my BFF, as they call best friend forever. They're not going nowhere. Right. And
you tend to return to your roots. Yeah.
And it's safe to say I could talk to many of my peers our age. We barely have the same friends that we did in high school. Right. Like it just
changes.
Yes, it's night and day.
I think as humans, we're forever evolving.
You think that's a bad thing, or is that a good thing?
No, change is never a bad thing, you know. Well, in my eyes, but you know, of course, there's change that's bad and change that's good. But I think as humans, you should continue to evolve. You should continue to grow. And that will cause you to lose some friends and gain some new ones.
So when did you see that cycle break with the friends we're talking about? How did you decide? Because you're in magnet school, I'm pretty sure that you probably was offered scholarship because they want the brightest kid to go to their institution.
Right. So that didn't work out as far as the magnet school. I ended up getting jumped by some girls in high school. So I dropped out of magnet school and it just went downhill from there.
You got jumped?
Yes, I did. Wow. They came right to my house and knocked on my door.
At your house? And where was your mom?
She was in there. Thank goodness.
You think they would have assaulted her too?
Yeah, kids can be mean.
So what started that engagement? Why would someone want to come to your front doorsteps and look for Betty? Where's Betty? Boom, 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 boom.
When I look back, I think it's a little bit of jealousy. Like I said, I was an introvert, so I didn't really engage with the girls at that high school. So they didn't even really know me. But there was always underlying like a little beef, I think.
Little tensions.
Yeah.
Were you shocked to see girls?
And that magnitude, yeah, it was like 2 carloads of people.
2 carloads.
Yeah. And
at that time, I know you like, where are my siblings at if I had any siblings?
Yeah, I wish I had siblings at that time. But yeah.
But what made you come out?
As far as, I mean, I opened the door. It was only one person.
Oh, they ambushed you.
So she knocked on the door. I'm like, okay. So I go open the door, but they're behind the door.
Gotcha.
So, and then it just kind of took off from there. As soon as I came out.
After that incident happened, when they left and whatnot, did you like have a self-evaluation as to why were you hated? Why were these girls pursuing you like this?
Probably.
Did you have self-reflection?
I felt down at that time, like more so like, why didn't girls like me? But that's been going on.
That's why I asked that.
Like all my life, like. And for the life of me, I can't understand why. Like some women will say, once I get to know you, you're pretty cool. You know, I didn't like you at first. Maybe I give off that demeanor where I'm unapproachable. I don't know, to women, or maybe they just feel intimidated. I'm not sure what it is. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but it's always kind of been like that. So yeah, I felt bad. You know.
Did you blame yourself at any point, or? I'm asking these questions just if a girl is going through these situations now. Because, you know, sometimes people blame themselves.
They do.
You know, especially girls who are in an abusive relationship, they tend to try to blame themselves.
For that particular situation, no. I think they just didn't like me. But it was a guy involved, of course, that one of the girls liked, and he liked me, and that probably led up to everything. Everybody, and I think people are more so followers. So once one person don't like you, like the whole clique don't like you. So yeah.
Thank God we didn't have social media back then.
Oh man,
it would have been rough.
Yes, I didn't have no hair in the middle. And so literally I was bald. And so I remember my friend, her sister, she was like, oh my gosh, your hair is never going to grow back. So
they ripped your
yeah,
hair?
like I had just got my hair done, like a new, like that time we used to do glue. So I had just gotten my hair done, like a short haircut, and they yanked my hair. It was literally like it was skin.
Wow.
Yeah, it was skin. And so she was like, oh, the sister told me, she was like, your hair is never going to grow back. So I used to, for a long time, I wore a wig, maybe like 5-6 months, I wore a wig. Yeah.
How did that make you feel? Because hair is so
ugly.
Hair is like synonym to a woman. Women just don't cut their hair off.
Yeah.
So you felt ugly.
Yeah, I felt absolutely. I was depressed.
Did that mess with your...
It messed with my ego a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Were you insecure? Did that mess with you mentally?
It did. Psyche? But, I pushed forward. Like, that's all you can do at the end of the day is just keep going.
I like to say kids are resilient. They go through it then, but they handle it better than adults
might have handled it.
Yes. So is it safe to say that you graduated high school? Or
I dropped out, but I went back and got my GED.
So talk to me. What grade did you drop out? Because this is what I...
So that's what I was saying. After the magnet program and that incident happened, it kind of just went downhill. Like I didn't want to go to school anymore.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was like a domino effect.
Were you embarrassed?
I was embarrassed.
That's what I'm going to say.
That I
did
got
embarrassment
jumped.
have anything to do with it?
Yeah, I was embarrassed. So my mom went ahead and transferred me over to... I went to school, Fort Lauderdale, and that I actually went to, because I actually had other friends there, so I was okay over there. But then she moved in Lauderdale Lakes, and then at that point I had to go to what it's called B8, and I didn't want to go. The school was massive. I knew absolutely no one, and I didn't want to engage. I didn't actually probably know how to engage.
Right.
Yeah. So again, that's where that introvert comes in.
So what grade are we talking about right now? 11th, 10th, 12th?
10th, 11th.
So 10th, 11th. So we're talking about, so I'm going to roughly estimate that you're 16, 17.
Around that age.
And you're dropping out of school. Mm-hmm. Knowing that it was hard for your parents, did that thought come out your mind? Like, if I drop out of school, what am I going to do?
Nope.
So you was like, F school, I'm not going to school.
At that point, I didn't want to go to school. I hated the school. I hated the people there. Like, I hated BA. I was so sorry.
Right now, listen, we need to
But I hated the school. Like I said, it was so massive. It was so foreign. And I felt like a stranger, and I didn't want that feeling. I wanted to be embraced. Growing up, you want to feel embraced. You want to feel wanted. You want to feel a part of something. And at that point, I didn't. And so I just kind of just stopped going.
So what did you do then?
Run the streets.
And when you say run the streets, what were you doing running the streets? Because when I was running the streets, I was selling drugs.
No.
So
we're not going to talk about that.
It's not that we're going to talk, but what does running the streets mean, especially for a woman?
So
what does run the street?
It was pretty much I was doing nothing. I probably would have a job for a week or two and then quit the job and hang out with my friends, would go out, sometimes clubbing, but it was really nothing
So you were on the streets, basically. Like, when I mean on the streets, like you were just like
hanging out every day.
Had no directions.
Had no direction, was clueless, and was broke. Extremely broke, but didn't care.
But a broke girl could be taken advantage of.
How is that? Oh, by a guy.
Yes, running the streets. Because this is concrete keeping it real. I got to keep it real.
Right.
So if you're out here running the streets, you're broke. Because I remember times where we called them runaways. Mm-hmm. They would hang out in traps and whatnot. They would hang out with the dope boys or the guys that had.
I had those episodes.
And that's why I'm keeping it real. Because listen, it's a testimony. Right. To see you where you at now. a lot don't make it here.
Mm-hmm.
But I want, especially the young women, to know that wherever they are,
It
that,
doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, it don't matter your past.
Yeah.
They could be where you at right now. They could be at where other women that touch my platform. That's why I have this platform.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you're being honest, you're being open right now is a testimony itself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know what you're talking about, the broke girls. Because like I said, we used to see them. They run away. They hanging out in trash because they don't want to go home because no sense of direction. Mm-hmm. And we didn't have no sense of direction. No one has
the
blind
leading the blind. Yes.
the blind leading the blind. So how did you find yourself to break out that cycle? Because sometimes it is hard. You get pregnant. You get diseases. You get, for a woman, I'm talking about from a woman aspect. How were you able to break out that cycle around that time?
So it took actually.
Or what scared you?
It wasn't actually. Oh yeah, it was a time I did get scared straight. I remember I called myself selling drugs. I sold drugs for 3 hours. It was.
I sold drugs for 3 hours.
It wasn't for me. I remember.
What were you selling, if you don't mind me asking?
Like nickels. I think
nickels
and dimes.
Or crack?
Crack.
You were selling crack? Betty
3 hours.
Dulcio.
Don't tell nobody.
The whole world know now. The whole world. She's able 3 hours.
For 3 hours. So I remember standing. I guess back then we used to call it the stroll. I'm not sure what it's called.
The stroll.
It's still the stroll, I think. So we were all standing there. Me and a couple of my homegirls. I wanted to get cool. I had on Dickie outfit. I thought I was doing it.
Girl said, I got the Dickie outfit.
Yeah. So at this time, I'm thinking I'm probably like 17, 18, somewhere around there. So we're on 3rd Avenue. Then I see a police ride by and he flashes his light.
Jesus, your heart
Man,
dropped.
I started playing with the grass. I'm like, literally, I dropped down and after that day, I quit. I gave whoever I gave it to him, like, here, and he handled it for me, and that was the end of my own.
So, might I ask you, who put the crack in your hand? And you don't have to say name.
It was a guy that I was dealing with at the time.
So he was dealing with you, and he put crack in your hand and told you to sell. Right?
No, he didn't tell me to sell. I asked him.
You wanted to sell?
Yeah, I wanted to sell
because you was down bad.
I wanted to get money. I wanted to see how it felt,
Where was your mom around this time? And what was your
mom?
At
home, probably crying.
Cause she didn't know where you were.
She didn't know where I was or what I was doing.
And how long has it been since you've been home around that time?
I would go home every day. It's just that I would go when she was at work.
So how long was it when she last placed her eyes on you?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe
no. If you had, if I had to guess,
maybe a couple days, maybe a week. Sometimes I would stay out a week.
But she knew you was there because she would see. Probably.
So she ended up changing the lock on me. Yeah, so that I can actually have to knock on the door to come in.
So, might I ask you, around that time, what was the relationship? Why was there a barrier? Because I'm quite sure you and her are probably great friends now.
Right.
But back then, what was...
I was just defiant, just going against the grain, not wanting to listen to what mom said or had to say. I didn't want to deal with it at the time.
And where did that come from?
I'm not even sure.
If you had to self-analyze yourself now and really take a deep thought, where did you really think that came from?
I was just, perhaps at that time I was mad at the world, just lost, and didn't want someone talking in my ear or trying to steer me right, because that's what she was doing. Retrospectively, I look back and I'm like, I know she loved me and she was doing the best she can. Keep in mind, she had 2 jobs.
Right.
So
if she had 2 jobs, she was more absent out of your life than anything, but she was able to provide, but she was more absent out of you. Do you think that...
But that was when I got older, though.
But do you think that brought the resentment? Was that
the resentment? Wasn't no resentment towards her. I just didn't want to listen. Like I didn't hate her. I love my mom. Like I always did. I just didn't want to hear anything she was saying. Like I would blank out. Like, Mom, leave me alone.
So we have the episode, we're on the stroll, police flash the light. You playing with the grass. I can see a little bit playing with the grass. Police like, what are you doing?
They didn't ask me. They actually just flashed it. Perhaps they seen that it was women or a woman and they kept going. But my heart still dropped to my knees.
So what you did the next day? What?
I told you I gave whatever I had left. I gave it to the guy that I was dealing with. He actually bust his lip with it and gave me my money.
But what happened the following weeks after that? That's what I'm asking. What transcended from that experience? What was
So I want to say maybe the turning point for me,
the fork in the road? I used to call it.
When I started dating this particular guy that actually loved me, and he loved me for me. Like he accepted me with all my flaws, all that BS that I did in the past, and he embraced me, welcomed me, and treated me like I was his everything.
So the fact that you said what you said brings me back, because you said you was raised by your mom. Do you think that your father being absent had anything to do with it?
Absolutely. I was looking for love in all the wrong places.
And that's what I was saying. And you were looking for it in some of these men's. Yeah. These men that place drugs in your hands and whatnot. I mean, it's safe to say that's what it was.
That's what happened. I mean, at the time, at the end of the day, I'm the one that approached them. So,
And that's one of my concerns.
It's the hustle.
That's one of my concerns, because I have a daughter, and if you know my story, I was incarcerated 20 plus years. And I always feared that, she might go looking for love in the wrong place because I was absent. That's why I'm having these conversations with you. Because like I said, there's young girls out there who don't have a father, whose father was absent. And they're going through right now what you went through.
Yeah. And for a long time, I resented my dad. For a long time. That's who I resented, for being absent and having so many kids and not being physically there, financially there, emotionally there, just absent.
Did you have any communication at all with your father?
Today, yes.
No, back then?
Not really, no.
So there was not a phone call you could pick up?
He wouldn't call. I wouldn't say he didn't call. Yeah, there was no communication.
Did you find yourself at times at night that you cried because you wish you had a father you could talk to back then?
No, not because of him. I probably found myself crying because I was more so depressed at some of the actions that I took back then, and I cried to myself because no one really knew what I was going through, but mentally, I was going through it.
So now I have to ask this sensitive question. Did suicide ever come across your mind at any point in your life? So at no point in your life,
I think back then suicide was not an option. It's more so prevalent now, but yeah,
I have to ask that,
right?
Because
I get it.
You're
young, and suicide. It was just, I just kept on telling myself, like, you got to do better. You got to do better.
So now here we are. You got the new man in your life who believed in you, who accepted you with all your flaws, as you said.
Right.
How old were you at this time? And this is before you got your GED, or this is after your GED?
This is before. I had to be about 18, 19, somewhere around there. Probably 19, I think, because I got my first car.
So he had a positive influence in your life?
Absolutely.
So what was it that he saw in you, or what was it that he instilled in you that made you do that roundabout?
He was just there, physically, financially, emotionally, and he just loved me unconditionally. And sometimes you need that because you feel alone and you don't feel loved. Like, you feel like everybody hated you. That's how I felt at that time.
Your hair grew back by that time?
Yeah, my hair.
By that time, your hair grew back and whatnot?
Yeah.
All right. So we get your GED. We get the GED.
Right. So now I start working.
You're no longer doing these 2-week jobs, these fast food, whatever.
No, I try to keep it a job consistently, and then, it just kind of went on like that for a little bit.
So when did you put your fork in what I see here, this establishment, this place of yours that we're in? When did you put and say, I'm going for it?
So in 2020, during the pandemic, I was at my previous job for that was actually my last job. I was there for 8 years.
And what job was that?
It's Health Business Solutions. I was actually a supervisor over there.
Okay.
So, and I was there for 8 years, but I felt underpaid, unappreciated. So,
everything that comes with working for a corporate company.
So I remember the last straw, whatever they say, the needle that broke
the camel back.
The camel's back. So they came to me and they told me that they wanted me to be a manager. And so I was like, yeah, and an increase has to be involved. And they told me that they would do the increase in increments because the company is doing so bad. But currently I was overseeing maybe about 20 20 people.
Clients or 20 representatives?
Well, yeah, 20 people was like currently up under me.
Okay.
That I oversaw. And then so with me taking on that new job title, now it would be like at least 100 because we had a lot of work that we outsourced to like India or Jamaica, wherever these people were,
right.
But they were out the country. So my workload would be challenging and demanding.
And you were underpaid.
And I was underpaid, undercompensated. Unappreciated. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to put this workload on my back. It's already in an uproar. So when I come in, they're going to expect me to fix it and then criticize me.
If you don't.
Yeah, on my shortfalls. You understand? So I quit. I didn't have.
But that was a hard decision to make because some people are scared to make that decision.
I really didn't have no direction at that time. I just knew I wasn't doing it no more, and I quit
without having nothing else to.
At that point,
embark on.
I had sold one of my homes. My last home, I had sold my home at that time. And so I don't have any kids, and I moved back in with my mom. So I was like, I don't really have any bills. I don't care. I could quit. I could find another job tomorrow. So, and that's what I did. I was actually a realtor at that time. So I focused more on real estate.
But when did you get into realtor?
So I got into real estate during my tenure with that last job
company, the one that you were with 8 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was a realtor part-time at that time, but
Gotcha.
Then I decided, okay, I'm just going to be full-time realtor.
Okay. So tell us about that life. How did that life treat you?
As far as real estate, I mean, I'm still a realtor. Realtor life is great as long as you have clients. It's a bit demanding. A lot of transactions going on, a lot of different characteristics personalities, I should say, that you have to deal with. But it's lucrative. It's definitely lucrative.
So here you are, you quit your job, you go full-time lucrative, you go back to your mom's house. So when did you put your fork on BR taxes?
My guy came to me and he was like,
and might I ask, around this time, are you still with this individual
So we had breakups, but for some reason we end up finding ourselves back to each other.
So you're still with this individual?
With this individual.
So he is almost like the glue to all of this, if you don't mind me saying it like that.
Okay. Absolutely. He has a lot to do with the company.
Okay.
So he approached me. He was like, at that time I was doing taxes on the side and I also was doing real estate. And he was like, well, you have a couple of clients. Maybe we should go ahead and get an office and you can do insurance. And I'm like, okay, not a bad thought. Because where I worked at before, I dealt with insurance.
Gotcha.
So I was familiar with the deductibles, the co-pays, the lingo. So I decided to get my insurance license at that time and I became a broker.
And this is the young girl who was running wild, selling crack for about 3 hours. Full circle.
Broke.
Yes. Sneaking home, mom not knowing. And when your mom look at you now, what does she say? I know you brought tears to your mom's eyes.
Yeah,
I know she cries in happiness. I'm talking about happy joy.
She's very proud, where I'm at right now.
So you decided to do insurance. So how long have you been, you said pandemic, so how long have you had this space, this office? How long have you been doing this?
So it's about 4 years now.
4 years. Mm-hmm. So you've been doing insurance for 4 years and you've been doing taxes for how long?
About the same amount of time.
The same amount of time.
In real estate, about 7 years.
So not only did you get your GED, you got these other licenses and degrees and whatnot.
Because I wanted to be great. I always wanted more. It just took me a while to achieve my goals, but I I've always been ambitious, so I've always wanted more. Feel like if you get $5, you can get $10, double it up. So that's always been kind of like my mindset, and that's what kind of led me where I'm at now.
And the young girls who knocked on your door almost decades ago have to look at you now, knowing that you're thriving. You're thriving. So this platform, like I said, is for individuals who might be going through what you've been through. If you had anything to say to them, what would you say to them? The young girl right now who's in the trap, probably, who is probably being taken advantage of, thinking that she has to submit or have to live the way she's living because she's scared to go back home.
Right.
She's scared to face consequences for leaving home. What you have to tell that young girl right now?
So I would say, focus on your education, focus on yourself. I don't even know. Hold on. I know that's a blooper. I don't know.
Think about it. Think about when you was in that space.
What did I do?
Yeah, well.
What advice would you have given yourself?
Yeah, you wouldn't give yourself.
You're right. So I would say to keep on going, no matter how tough it is, there's always light at the end of the road. Had I wouldn't given up, I wouldn't be where I am today. I still have more places that I want to go, but I'm definitely on the right path and I'm definitely in a good space. And so it did take time, tenacity, like consistency. It's not easy because people think they look at the glitz and the glam. You understand? They think it's easy. It's not. It takes dedication, it takes hard work, and anything that you're willing to put in time and effort, it will thrive. It will grow.
And I love that you just said what you said, and I would like to piggyback off that, and I want you to let them know that because some people think it's easy just to start a business. No. They just see the glam. They just see the flowers,
glitz, the glam, yeah.
But they don't know how many times you had setbacks. How many times? Let's talk about it. How many times you wanted to quit? How many times you was like?
I don't think there was ever a time I wanted to quit, but
and I might have rephrased it.
I would say that there was times like for the first 2 years where I didn't see any profit.
You was in the red. You were still in the red.
So it's a good thing that I had some savings and we were able to pay the rent because the money that we were bringing in wasn't paying the rent. I remember when I got my first commission, it was like $300. I was so happy. To me, that was a lot,
right?
But looking back at it, it was nothing. But I was grateful, and I saw that and that's what kept me going. It's the potential. Like the more clients you have, the more clients you keep, you understand there's greater potential. Right.
And I'm glad that you shared that, because like I said, we live now in the age where everything is instant gratification. Meaning
social media makes it seem like it's easy.
I like to call it the microwave age.
Yeah.
They just want it instant gratification, but they don't want to go through the long haul. You said it took you 2 years.
Right.
Before you were able to get to the green,
right? To see profit.
And now you're swimming in it. You're swimming. Look at you. You're swimming in it right now.
I will say it was worth it. You understand? That's why I said anything that you keep going, all it takes is like one more time.
All it takes that one
that'll take you over or even make you believe. I had a client that came in and they got this policy. It was like a commercial policy, and I made a good amount of money, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, gosh, like I said, the possibilities are limitless, and that's what keeps me going to reach this level, to go here, to go here, to go here. So the goal is to have agents up under me and to continue to grow my business.
To have a staff.
To have a staff and be able to give young adults that you talk about, the young girls that you talk about, a different path. You don't necessarily, I'm not against just straight education and career schooling. I'm not against that, but entrepreneurship, it leaves it limitless.
And they needed to hear that. So on Concrete Keeping It Real, we're finna wrap this up. And on Concrete Keeping It Real, I like to ask all my guests, and everybody know it. What does keeping it real mean to Betty Dulcio? What does, and you could take it in however aspects you want to take it, but what does keeping it real mean to you?
I would say keeping it real means
Too sweet, that bit like nudie. I might pop out like John Wayne. Come through sweet, that bit like nudie. They calling me special, diamonds be that's retarded. We got the best in the market. I'm in a Tesla full of chrome hearts, pushing the button to park it. Got a dot on the shirt like Target. When I drop that pic, she hearted. Even though sometimes I'm heartless, put ice right where my heart is. In a Model 3 with a gypsy, lean over and say she wanna kiss me. Don Julio made a whole tipsy. I say she wanna listen to naked. Yeah, diamonds be dancing frisky. Gotta put on a set, Ricky. Be out of the door, but I gotta go back 'cause I might have forgot the blicky. All my bitches bad as shit. We on top like chandelier. We make a movie, crib full of baddies and bougies, Glocks, FNs, and Uzis. I might pop out like John Wayne. Come through sweep that bit like nudie. I might pop out like John Wayne. Come through sweep that bit like nudie. All my bitches bad as shit. We on top like chandelier. We make a movie, crib full of baddies and bougies, Glocks, FNs, and Uzis. I might pop out like John Wayne. Come through sweep that bit like nudie. I might pop out like John Wayne. Come through sweet some shit like nudie.